Welcome back to the Deep Biggest Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew, my other host right over there.
What's up? It's D. Good to see you again. Be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Drop some comments below. Let us know your thoughts. We are on an awesome 5 day stretch of football right now.
Oh, I'm loving every second of it. And I also love a little bit more because I get to take a little Justin Herbert victory lap here. I I am part of the Justin Herbert haters fan club. I just, I wanted to see him do it on a big stage. And I know he's one rookie of the year. He threw for 5,000 yards before, but I just don't feel like he's a top 10 quarterback, but he gets the benefit of the doubt as if he was a Josh Allen, and they put him in the tier of the top 5, the Joe Burrows of the world. And we just saw that in a playoff game against a beatable Texans team, he just fell flat.
Yeah, I mean, not a good performance from Justin Herbert at all. I mean, realistically, he was the reason that they lost this game. It was 4 sacks, it was 4 interceptions. He did not look good when the Houston Texans actually gave a lot of opportunities for the Chargers to take over this game. And it's just one of those things like if you were a Justin Herbert truther, you can't blame it on anyone else other than Justin Herbert in this game.
Yeah, early on, I know first drive, okay, they settle for a field goal, that's fine. But you get an interception in their territory, you got to capitalize on that, which is it's fine. Okay, 6-0, we're moving on. You get an interception from CJ Stroud, and you get an opportunity now to go up big, but instead, first play, Justin Herbert throws an interception. And the Houston Texans played awful in the first half. This should have been a blowout for the Chargers in that first half. But they kept letting opportunities slip away. They didn't capitalize and take advantage of everything the Texans were giving them. Multiple turnovers by the Texans. And then to end the half, they just completely fell apart with like 50 seconds left on the clock. They give up and end up losing going into the half, which was insane. I was thinking, oh, at worst it's going to be 6-3 like 6-3 Chargers, and then it's okay. At worst, it'll be 7-6 Chargers, and sorry, 7-6 Chargers losing by 1. But then it just kept snowballing and snowballing, and from then on, the Chargers just couldn't bounce back on offense.
Yeah, I'm a little bit perplexed by the Chargers game plan and what they were looking to achieve in this one. It feels like I think you had talked about this previously where the Chargers just need to figure out what their identity is actually going to be. Because if it is just going to be, hey, let's rely on the arm of Justin Herbert, then how about we do that through Lad McConkey, through some of these other guys? But instead, they put a lot of the focus on Quentin Johnston. And let's be completely honest, Quentin Johnston is not a good NFL wide receiver. And so I don't understand the thought of making him the focal point of the offense. Let's go through somebody else. I get you have to at least try it because we took a really high pick with this guy, but he dropped a pretty pivotal pass. And it's like, and then he also just doesn't understand. I don't know if it was the play call on the 4th down or if it was just him not having the spatial awareness to run the route to the sticks. But it's like, come on, dude, you're staring down to the barrel. It was an out and he just didn't hit the out. Like I don't get it.
And I don't want to hear the argument of, well, Herbert doesn't have enough weapons. Lad McConkey's his best weapon. The
Lad McConkey's
Chargers,
good.
the Lad McConkey's good, but the Chargers have had opportunity to get off of Quentin Johnson of being like one of their top receivers for a while now. Like they could have brought in other guys, they could have traded for someone, but they continue despite drops, despite him not having the awareness to get deep enough on a crucial 4th down. Like they have stuck by him and refused to say that he was a missed pick. Like they could have easily got a different guy in here to at least even keep Quentin Johnston, but get another receiver in here to bolster that receiving crew. But no, they've chose to stick with who they've got. All right, now you got to live with it, and it's just not enough for Herbert to really thrive if you're going to be that high flying passing offense. But we've seen they are really good when they rely on Dobbins. They pound the rock. They have a bunch of backs that they can cycle through. but they just get away from it and they want Herbert. Some games they want Herbert to be the guy to be Mahomes, throw in his prime, throwing 40 passes a game. And sometimes they want him to be Ryan Tannehill in his prime. Like, run the ball, play action, let's get it downfield. And they just have not consistently decided what they're going to do. And I think this game really, that cost them.
I think he would be better off being the Ryan Tannehill. Like, there was nothing wrong with Ryan Tannehill. If Ryan Tannehill had the pieces around him, he'd be fine. Obviously, Justin Herbert, yeah, in Tennessee. Obviously, and even in a little bit in Miami. But anyways, even like though Justin Herbert is more talented, we've seen that he just does not perform on these stages. You had already established that you could just run the rock. Like, why not do that? Why not just make that the focal point when you feel like, hey, you know what? We just don't have it today as far as passing. If we pound the rock, it'll open things up downhill, and we'll get something eventually because we have this guy talented. I just don't understand what their identity is. If they want to be the classic Jim Harbaugh, tough, pound it down your throat, or they're going to be this new, hey, we have to be high flying because we have to keep up with the Chiefs of the world, with the Detroit Lions of the world. I just don't get it.
Yeah, and it's even the fact of like the game, like your game plan is really fourth down. We need to get this. We're gonna put Quentin Johnston against Stingley on he must, like, they must beat Stingley on this route. That's gonna be your really have to have it play call. That's insane to me. That falls on Harbaugh of being like a little, head in the clouds about Justin Herbert. We've seen he's struggling this game. And then as it started to get further and further away, they just doubled down and tripled down. Oh, let's keep slinging it. Let's keep throwing the ball. And I know it worked on the Lamb McConkey long touchdown, but that was a desperation play. And then safety takes a bad angle and it broke free. It just, yeah, Harbaugh needed to say, coming out of half, let's settle down. Let's establish the run. Let's get after it. Because even the Texans offense really, outside of that long drive where they were in their own end zone, they didn't really do a lot to really like take over the game.
I would say in the first half, obviously they didn't do a whole lot up until the end of it. And then even then, like, it felt like more of the Chargers giving it away, but also we got to give kudos to like D'Amico Ryan and this like complete turnaround that the Houston Texans have done over the last 2 years. Coming into this game, we both felt like this was a step down from the Houston Texans last year. It was a bit of a sophomore slump for CJ Stroud, who didn't look like he was going to set the world on fire throughout that first half. But they, like, again, if on your worst years, like what people felt like was a letdown year, because a lot of people were thinking that this was going to be a dark horse team for the Super Bowl coming into the season. It was kind of just a boring ho-hum season for the Houston Texans. They were in a bad division, but they made it. They got to 10 wins. They made it to the playoffs. And then you go out there and you beat the hell out of the Chargers. Like, kudos to them. I know they have a tough task ahead of them, but you got to give credit where credit is due, because that defense, it is a night and day difference from 3 years ago to where they're at right now in this moment.
Yeah, Danico Autry was a beast today. I know Aziz Al-Shair went down early, but Will Anderson was getting after it, and then they obviously have Daniil Hunter. Like, it started off like it looked like a defensive battle, but Chargers just kept getting in such good positions that you were like, oh, well, yeah, Chargers are clearly going to run away with this one. And the Chargers defense really early on was suffocating. That D-line was everywhere. The Joe Mixon was struggling, and they really weren't letting Nico really get loose. And the second half, it felt like they just gassed out. They were not getting that same pressure on CJ Stroud. Joe Mixon slowly but surely started to get going. And I think that's really the difference for the Texans offense in the second half, is Joe Mixon became a problem for the Chargers.
Yeah, and I mean, think about even just a couple of years ago when people were like, you guys got Darius Stingley instead of Sauce Gardner, and look, it's turned out amazing. And then they double dipped in the first round last year, getting CJ Stroud and Will Anderson. they have completely kind of shifted this young core. And again, if this is going to be what we many consider like a, hey, not the best year, we could have been a lot better, and it's a win in the wild card round by dominant fashion, like that's pretty. I mean, it's going to be scary when they have full weapons and are all go next season.
Yeah, they built a solid roster, and who was someone said that this is a bye week for the Chargers. Who was it on NFL whatever NFL Network or something saying that it was gonna be, and Joe Mixon was saying that in the post game. He was streaming and they're turning up in the locker room. But yeah, it should have been an easy win for the Chargers. I'm just gonna say that right now because the Texans were struggling this season. CJ Stroud didn't have it really rolling, and the defense, they stepped up for the Texans, but Justin Herbert heralded as a guy who should be one of the main quarterbacks in the NFL, should have been able to like really put up points against this team, and none of that happened.
I mean, it was a big snowball effect. I think realistically, it started off as like, what is the game plan here? But then Justin Herbert just kept making mistake after mistake after mistake. And yeah, like you had a couple of them where it was like the Will Disley one that's like goes in and out of his hands. The Lad McConkey one is not on Lad McConkey at all. Realistically, Justin Herbert threw that like he was throwing it to Megatron. It was crazy. Like, and then he just had bad throws. I mean, it was just a bad showing from Justin Herbert. There's nothing you can do to defend it. You gotta like, you're gonna have to gas on him, and you're gonna have to sit there for the rest of this offseason, Justin Herbert, and be like, I need to be better.
Yeah, I didn't expect this Chargers team to like really go far in the playoffs. I was thinking one win and out, but now I'm looking at this Chargers team like, okay, you can add offensive weapons, but on the defense side of the ball, are you ever going to be this healthy and this good again? You have Joey Bosa, who's in injury prone ground, Derwin James, Khalil Mack getting another year older. Like this defense was showing out. Tart was really good for them, and I just don't know. Like Denzel Perryman got hurt. Troy Dye stepped in really nicely. Are you really going to bank on these guys to be in this position and playing healthy and playing good ball in the same point next season? Like it's really tough for you to really bank on that.
The one thing I will say is when you see guys that transition from the college game into the NFL as far as coaching, they have more of an inside track into the recruiting because obviously they've recruited, they have all of these folders on these guys. I would not be surprised if they draft really well coming out of the next at least 2-3 years.
Yeah, and that's kind of what Harbaugh did with the Niners. Like he drafted really well and they built it out.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, hey, you know what? In the later rounds, we got picks that ended up being very solid, key members of our defense. We continue to, they got to figure out what they're doing as far as offensively. But I think that you're going to see this team draft really well. It's going to all fall onto the shoulders of this highly paid quarterback and that this guy that everyone's crowned that really hasn't accomplished a whole lot. Brock Purdy has a lot more accomplishment than this guy.
Yeah, I hate to say it. And then I was even like looking at the numbers, and outside of the interceptions, him and Brock Purdy got pretty similar numbers. And this is on a really, really down year for Brock Purdy. So I know they didn't need Justin Herbert to produce high passing yards and high passing touchdowns for them to get to this point. But it does feel like, well, then why do we have it? It's the at least Joe Shane from the Giants was like, well, why am I paying a quarterback if we're not going to rely on the quarterback and throw the ball?
Yeah.
And it backfired in his face. But at a certain point, you have to tell yourself, like, do we pay a quarterback big money and be a passing offense? Or do we, save that money, put it in other places and run the ball? And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of a conflicting culture of Harbaugh because he wants to run the ball. But at the same time, you got this Ferrari that you're paying all this money for, insurance is high, and you just want to hit the road with it. But is that your best, choice?
Would they trade Justin Herbert? I know there was a little bit of chatter last offseason. It could be something to look for, like just chatter, rumblings in this next season. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, something just struck me here. Whoa.
I think you're
Whoa,
on the same wavelength as me.
I think we're right here, right now, because you could flip Justin Herbert for a top pick here, and then you could go out. Hey, Vikings.
Yep.
I know, Vikings. You're not gonna play JJ McCarthy. Send him on over to the Chargers. JJ McCarthy is the new quarterback for the Chargers. You get a top 10-5 pick, probably a top 5 pick for Herbert this season, and
Yeah,
get
the one thing I would
Travis
say
Hunter. Travis Hunter.
that's the one thing I would say about that is this draft, I don't think a lot of people are very much valuing this draft. So you would have to get a premium player and a draft pick, if that makes sense. But I was on the same wavelength. Like that's something that was talked about last offseason is, hey, is Harbaugh just going to go get his quarterback who he spoke very highly of in JJ McCarthy? Now it seems like he's going to be, there's talks of him might be available from the Vikings this offseason. Could he just be like, hey, you know what? I'm actually just more comfortable with the guy that I know.
You know what? I don't see how it would work. They'd have to like have some kind of contract situation where they work out the contract details, because wouldn't it like hit their cap so much for trading him or something? But outside, if we throw out the logistics, I feel like it makes a lot of sense. JJ is gonna run the offense to a T of what Harbaugh wants. You get a young guy in, you can get a top. You could get either Abdul Carter, let's say, to come in and help Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa and rotate them as they get older, or you go out and get Travis Hunter. You go out and get, maybe you get a top 10 pick and you go with one of the corner from Michigan and really carry over another Harbaugh guy. Like there's a lot of options that you could go, and then you still have Lad McConkey there. You still have J.K. Dobbins. You still have a lot of these pieces on defense. I don't know. I don't know if you don't feel like Justin Herbert can get you over that hump, especially in this AFC with Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Bo Nix, like a lot of these guys. Is it worth the money? Is all I'm saying.
Yep. I mean, it's going to be very interesting moving forward to see what their next move is. On the other end, we know the Houston Texans' next move is going to be against the Kansas City Chiefs. Am I correct?
It depends on what happened. Oh wait. Yeah, this game just happened. So yeah, it'll be no. It depends on if the Broncos win or the Bills win. So if the Broncos win, they're the lowest seed. They'll go against the Chiefs. If the Bills win, it'll be Bills Ravens, and then Texans Chiefs,
Okay. So
because they reseed after this week.
then never mind. We don't know yet. So we'll figure that out.
Cool.
We'll talk about that. So be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe because we're going to talk to that as soon as we get up to date on it.
Yep. See you guys.
Later.